Today's show will be theatrical and musical. Theatrical. There was a play in the 50s called The Damn Yankees. There was a band in the 80s called The Damn Yankees. When I first moved here, many times I was called a damn Yankee. And now the Rangers are playing, you guessed it, the damn Yankees. We talk about the series next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yeah, it's 1 versus 1, the best rotation in the American League against the best offense in the American League. This could be and should be a very good series. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Me, John Radigan, back from a long sojourn, and Jeff has been here most of the time. Thrilled that Abby was able to hang out with all of you and hang out with us. She'll be back this Sunday, actually, so we're glad to have her back more regularly in the mix, and I know she did a great job, and I know you all appreciated that as well. So fantastic, homestand for the Rangers, but now they hit the road, and again, Jeff, in some ways, when you say, I forgot to mention the Prophet, he was on vacation too, so you don't notice him being gone as much, but the Prophet's back too. So we're kind of, we're just, it's that, we're back together, man. We got the band back together, speaking of musical. But before we move, because I just didn't get to talk to you about the end of the homestand, let me just briefly say 5-2 on that homestand, I feel pretty good about.
Sure.
Splitting with the Astros and the way that last one ended, I feel like maybe there's a narrative out there that the Rangers didn't have a very good homestand. You split with the Astros and you did what you have to do and swept the Colorado Rockies. I think it's a good homestand.
Sure. I mean, it beats a losing homestand.
Well, yeah, good point.
And really the Rangers could have won all 7 games.
Yeah.
They didn't, and I guess that's the way baseball go. The bullpen was due for, a hiccup. Fortunately, it looks like injuries are causing more than a hiccup. We should get word today on Chris Martin and what his status is. So, it is a good homestand, and the Rangers are in the middle of a good stretch. They're 7-2 in their last 9 games.
Yeah.
I think you'll take that
anytime.
I think you'll take that
every 9 games.
And now they're
7-2.
Now they're back above 500, and the Mariners had a good weekend against the Padres in San Diego, which kind of takes a little starch out of things. But the Rangers are good, and we've been saying all along that they're going to be a good team. And you've seen some of it in April, even when the team was struggling offensively. The starting pitching and bullpen were so good. Now it looks like the offense is slowly coming around. Starting pitching remains very, very good. And now though, we got some bullpen issues.
Yeah, we got some bullpen issues. We'll get to those in the second segment of the show. And Jeff and I will walk down memory lane a little bit in segment 3 as we talk about some of our memories of great moments in the history of the series against these damn Yankees. But yeah, so that's what's on tap here is the Yankees against the Rangers tonight, game 1. And as I mentioned, it's the number 1 offense in the American League against the number 1 starting rotation in the American League. And the other subplot to this one is that it is the Boone Bowl, Jeff. Aaron Boone against Brett Boone, and that's pretty cool. The last time they faced each other, again, they both played Major League Baseball, so the last time they faced each other, and you might have seen Ab's tweet about this today, but the last time they faced each other was 2005. At that time, Brett was still with the Mariners, and his Mariners won at Safeco Field over the Indians. Yes, Aaron was on the then Cleveland Indians. So the last time they met, Brett had the upper hand. Fingers crossed, Jeff, that maybe he's got the upper hand this week too.
Well, when you look at that rotation, you kind of look at the pitching matchups. The Corbin versus Will Warren, who's a young guy who's doing pretty well. DeGrom Wednesday, Evaldi Thursday. You got to like your chances.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty good.
Even with that Patrick Corbin, the guy who was pretty much dismissed as soon as he was signed by the Rangers. Yes, I'm guilty of doing it. John, I don't want to convict you. I'll let the jury decide, but we all had our doubts.
Yes,
and he has far exceeded even the minimum expectations, and he has a pretty good track record against the Yankees. So, who knows what's going to happen? And I think you do want a lefty pitching in that ballpark.
Yes.
Though Aaron Judge is a hell of a right-handed hitter. You got to watch out for him, and I'm sure Patrick will pitch carefully, as they all do.
There are plenty of times when Aaron Judge gets his and the Yankees still lose. So,
That's true.
I mean, again, it's not like in the NBA especially, you can kind of say, we're going to shut down whoever, Luka, and make everybody else beat us, right?
Yeah.
You ain't shutting down Aaron Judge. I mean, if he's seeing it, you won't shut him down, but there's a pretty good chance. Hold him to solo home runs, for God's sake, the way he's been hitting the ball. But in any event, the pitching rotation, I think you're right, Jeff, it lines up beautifully for the Rangers because of that, Jacob deGrom in a stretch right now, Jeff, where he is pitching. He's pitching as well as he has probably since 19, 20?
He pitched. He had a great, was it 22?
21
or 22, where he took like a ERA just above 1, right at 1, maybe a little under into the All-Star break. Was injured though, missed a lot of the second half of the season. The guy's great. I mean, we've been saying it. I know a lot of Rangers fans and beat writers, myself included, hadn't seen it necessarily because he'd been in the other league. You hear about it and you catch glimpses of it. I don't know how often the Mets were on TV, probably at the same time as a Rangers game, so I wasn't able to watch it. But he's terrific. He just is. And when his mechanics are dialed in, as they appear to be now, he can absolutely dominate a lineup. And for him to go 8 innings and that last start helped on a couple fronts because the bullpen was short on arms. But it probably helped him too. He was able to clear maybe another hurdle.
Sure.
I don't know that he ever had any doubt he could do that, but it's the first time he'd done it in a long time. And, now he has the extra day, yesterday being the off day.
Yep.
No monkeying around with the rotation. Everybody stayed in order. So he's going to have an extra day's rest, which probably also allowed him to go to the 8th inning.
Sure.
The other day.
Yeah,
they
one of the
knew,
reasons.
hey, he's going to get an extra day. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him all season.
Yes.
Especially now that it looks like it's tuned in.
He does. And it's going to be interesting to watch him, too, because we know that the Rangers want to limit the amount of innings he gets to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
So I don't imagine there will be a steady diet of 8-inning outings. But because there are question marks right now in the bullpen, you think, well, maybe this is another time where if he's got it going, the start before that, he probably could have gone 8. And I think they yanked him after 5 because there was a big lead, and you might as well just get him out of there and keep his inning total down. But he certainly could have gone 7 in that game and maybe 8. So he's probably built up to that, that level easily. And maybe because of question marks in the bullpen, this is a time where you say, let's let him go again.
Yeah, he will pitch again on this road trip. He'll pitch against the White Sox here at the end of the road trip. So he'll be on 4 days rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, depending on what happens with Chris Martin, how they want to fill that if indeed he goes on the injured list, which seems like just with the elbow deal a week ago today, and then the shoulder deal and the way he reacted. Let's say everything's clean. he needs to go on the IL.
Shut him down. He's 39 years old.
He needs some rest.
Yeah,
all right, you need to let him sit this one out a little bit and cool down and make sure everything's in proper working order. So even best case scenario, I think he goes on the injured list. But so who do they call up? Well, probably Cole Winn. How does that shuffle everything behind him? Jacob deGrom in the 7th inning might be the Rangers' best reliever at that point.
That's right.
And so then you can shorten the game to Garcia, Jackson, or however you want to mix and match it. So I think there probably will be a little bit longer of a leash, but 9 starts. This will be his 10th start. He's at 51 innings, so you can tell that they've definitely managed.
They're doing 5 innings a
I mean,
game-ish,
Yeah, that's probably where they want him to be, to be perfectly honest. I think he'd be on pace then, let's say, for 150 innings. I mean, 160, 170 innings, that's probably a pretty good number for him. And I think that's a number a lot of people had thrown out before the start of the year. That still means, in theory, he's going to be fresh at the end of the season when they're going to need him the most.
Yep. And again, spot times like that last start or like this one, maybe you push him a little bit and then you realize that you can back off again. He's not one of those guys that wants to, but he also knows, and they know, that's probably what's best for the long-term future of really the team, even more than the player, even more than the pitcher in this case. So very interesting. And then, of course, Nathan Eovaldi following him. And that's just been such a 1-2 punch, Jeff. And we kidded way back at the beginning of the season about how, wow, Jacob deGrom's the 5th starter. But that's a pretty damn nice, and you don't know who's 1 through 5 once you get going through it, But that's a pretty damn nice 1-2 punch. Your 5th and your 1st starter in the rotation, if you will.
Right, and gosh, I mean, just the way it lines up with Mahle following Eovaldi and Jack Leiter looking like he's closer to what his form at the start of the year as opposed to when he came right off the injured list. I mean, gosh, but you just see the numbers and it's like we should be believing this by now.
Yeah,
because they've all been very good.
It's a big sample size now.
Yeah.
Realistic one. And I liked Mista's comment earlier about Leiter, just out of for lack of a better terms, deserved better in that game. That was a hell of a pitched game by Jack Leiter.
Yeah, taking that no-hitter into the 7th.
Yeah.
And then yesterday's show we went over how Nick Marley and the last batter that Leiter faced, Cam Smith, how that at-bat really kind of changed the game. And even the umpire auditors agree with us. And, not to blame the umpires because, Jonah Heim had the base running error a few minutes before that, and the Rangers didn't score in, the other 8 innings. There were opportunities to win the game, so don't want to blame the umpire, but things definitely changed when Nick Marley screwed that one up. But it was an excellent outing. You got to feel really, really good about it. First time he'd ever finished 7 innings, let alone, getting to the 8th inning. A big step forward for him. And again, he'll have a day of rest. Apparently he needs it. He was all over, New York yesterday, going to the MLB Network studios.
Yeah.
I'm sure his dad coaxed him into that.
Yeah, of course.
It's after some years of wondering about Jack Leiter, and rightfully so, I guess, after the 2 years lost at Double-A, lot of reason to be optimistic about this guy.
Yeah, and I think Brett Boone was down there at the MLB Network studios yesterday too. So a lot of guys heading that way, and so it's fun. That's one of the things that is fun about going to New York for these guys, especially when you get an off day there. It's the media capital of the world and everything. So lots to do there. That's always fun. It is as we mentioned, number 1 rotation ERA. The Rangers rotation right now has an ERA of 2.83. It's not only first in the American League, it's the best the Rangers have ever had after 48 games in a season. So really amazing accomplishment, to Jeff's exact point, that this ain't smoke and mirrors anymore. This is a pretty big sample size. We're almost a third of the way through the season, and the Rangers are getting it done, at least from the starting pitching perspective, that's for sure. More coming up as we update you on a couple of other things that have happened with the Rangers and talk about some loud noises heard from the bullpen this weekend. It's all next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time for you to consider LinkedIn Jobs. This is a great place for you to post jobs for your business, or if you need to hire someone, to employ someone, that's the place to find that person. You go to LinkedIn Jobs. You all know how great LinkedIn is as a social media connector. I really think LinkedIn was the very first sort of social media connector I was ever a part of, way back in the probably late 2000s, and even before Twitter. Even before some of the Facebooks and all those. LinkedIn's been out there and they're around. They have a vast network of people that they have connected together, and so consequently, they know where the good candidates are for you. So if you're looking to hire somebody, do yourself a favor. Go to LinkedIn Jobs, and if you post your job there and you use the code RANGERS, you go to LinkedIn.com, code RANGERS, and you get your first post for free.
Yeah, well,
pretty good.
It can be that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, yesterday was a rare day. I did not avail myself to sleeper yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, not
Were
sure
you
what
jonesing?
happened there.
Yeah.
I
got the DTs today?
It got to be about 6 o'clock, and I was like,
Well,
the East Coast games are starting.
It was weird. There weren't many games yesterday.
There weren't, yeah. And I was like, well, there you go. I'm not going to do it. NBA playoffs return tonight. NHL
Hockey,
the Stars
yeah.
play tomorrow. MLB has a full slate of games today. So anyway, sleeper. You've heard me say it before. It's daily fantasy. Great time. Heightens your sports awareness. I really know a lot more about the NBA now than I did at the start of the season, thanks to Sleeper. I watch NBA games. I'm kind of enjoying watching sports again. So it's the Sleeper app that's helped. But Sleeper, use the code DLS Rangers, and they will match up to $100 on your first deposit.
Yeah, fantastic. It's fun. It'll definitely make it more fun if you get a little action on the game, no doubt about that. Before we get to these loud noises that were heard from the bullpen, let's talk about a couple of things. Yesterday, Jeff, the Rangers DFA'd Jonathan Ornelas.
Yeah.
And, again, we've said it many times when we see things or know things that have happened to guys we like, such as this. You hate it. You hate it for Jonathan, but that's just, that's the way baseball go. Sometimes.
Yeah, and he's batting .204 at AAA, but that's actually up. He's actually been hitting better of late. He's such a great defensive player.
Yeah,
he really is. I would think that he has a chance though to get through and stay with the organization. As his first time being DFA'd, so he'll have no choice but to take the outright assignment. In his place, the Rangers picked up Michael Hellman in a waiver claim from the Pirates. Hellman's kind of been bouncing around here. Made his MLB debut last year with the Twins. Was with the Cardinals at some point this year, then the Pirates. He's also has options, and so these DFA'd players who have options are always gonna draw some attention. Interestingly, I believe he went to A&M. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Hellman makes me think of mayonnaise.
Yeah, it does.
But anyway, he's going to be at Round Rock as well, and you always like these guys that can play multiple positions like Hellman can. He's not just an infielder; he can get around a little bit in the outfield too. So we'll see how it works out. But yeah, hopefully Jonathan stays with the organization because he is a grade A kid.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we say because DFA kind of means different things at different times to different people at stages in their career, right?
Yeah.
And for a younger guy who, like you say, it's the first time he's been DFA'd, these are just those tough decisions that have to be made regarding a 40-man roster.
Yeah.
Right? It's the double-edged sword. I'm on the 40-man. Well, yeah, but now if they need to make a move, they have to, to DFA you. So
yeah, and he was Jonathan I was a third or fourth round pick in 2018, which is the draft that had Cole Winn and Owen White right there at the top. And White is elsewhere now. You just when you start to win and you start to feel like your competitive window is there, you're gonna go with more sure things like free agent relievers. And the Rangers felt better about the likes of Hobie Milner and Robert Garcia, who they got in the trade, Chris Martin, Luke Jackson, Sean Armstrong, even Jacob Webb. Mm-hmm. So that then puts these prospects who've been in the organization for a while and haven't quite hit yet. It puts them on the hot seat, if you will. And sometimes you just run out of spots. And when the Rangers have to start adding the guys on the 60-day back, Hellman and Gerson Garabito, the miracle of all miracles that he's still on the 40-man roster. Yeah. They're going to start feeling the heat a little bit.
Sure.
So anyway, like I said, hopefully Jonathan hangs around because he's a friend of the DLLS Weekly podcast and a friend of ours.
Yeah, very much so. Hellman, by the way, he's a Lincoln, Nebraska kid. Went to high school there and then went to Hutchinson Community College and killed it. And then transferred to A&M. He had a year, 2018, at Texas A&M, where he hit 369 with 6 bombs. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That'll work.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
So the bullpen this weekend, and I guess it probably does extend all the way back to that first noise that was heard from the bullpen last week, which was Chris Martin's elbow, right? And I'm not sure it was the elbow heard around the ballpark, but Chris Martin heard it. And
right.
Again, like you said, thankfully there was a big-time bullet dodged there. It wasn't anything, and it came back completely clean. And then Chris Martin felt, and you could just see it. I mean, when he threw a pitch, or was it 2 that he got off the other day, and you could see he just was wincing in pain as he left the mound, and maybe there was even more than pain there, just some frustration and some disappointment that his body was letting him down. But then, as a result of that, and again, back to that lighter game, there were some loud noises allowed by the bullpen. In that case, Armstrong that day just didn't quite have it.
Yeah, and those things happen. They really do. And Armstrong had been so good earlier in the week. Saved a couple ball
saves,
games,
didn't he? Yeah.
And so just where the Rangers were. And it was difficult. They were trying to wait out these injuries that they didn't think were IL injuries. They thought they could buy some time, and it ended up not buying time. So, or it ended up not working out in one case. So yeah, it's tough. And then at that point, and going back to Friday's game, you got to decide if you're the manager, who do I want to use?
Right.
And Armstrong was available for 1 out. Go in, get an out, and it's over.
Yeah.
He gives up the lead. So at that point, it's like, well, do I want to bring in the guy who's warming, Chris Martin? Well, no, you want to save him in case you reclaim the lead.
Sure.
Well, that didn't happen. It was a 3-run homer. And so those are just the management things, bullpen stuff at every game. But it's not just that day. It's who has worked the previous days, who's been working so much the whole year. Who do you want for the rest of the weekend? It's just it's hard.
Right.
The stuff that happened Sunday in the 8th, when Martin came in and got hurt, it set up perfectly for him because the Astros had a bunch of right-handed hitters coming up or options off the bench who are right-handed, and it just having to bring in Robert Garcia at that point kind of fed right into their hands. And Isaac Paredes got the barrel out on a pitch.
Yeah.
He was off balance and yanked it out anyway. But that's just I feel silly saying it all the time, but that's baseball.
It is, but then if you look at it from a bigger picture perspective, the high leverage guys, right now, the guys who you're counting on to be the back end of this bullpen are all north of 30. Some of them significantly north. I think, is Garcia 30? Robert Garcia's just 30.
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
30,
but it's a lot.
But the rest of them, even Milner, I think, is 33. I mean, the high leverage guys are all north of 30. And so you have to just be careful with usage. And obviously, we know Bruce Bochy is a bullpen whisperer. He's a bullpen master. So we know that's front of mind for him. But I think this weekend highlights, usage overusage is it's probably a problem for any age, but certainly for some of these guys that are getting a little long in the tooth.
Well, and you want your bullpen guys healthy and fresh at the end of the year,
Sure.
like you want DeGrom healthy. And if you want to go back to 2011, the World Series there, the Rangers were riding Mike Adams,
yes,
and Lexi Ogando really hard.
They were,
and they got tired. You could see it late in that World Series. They just weren't as crisp and as good. That's why Derek Holland was in the bullpen for making appearances. After his start that was so good in game 4, but he needed to pitch. They needed him to pitch in game 6 and 7. So that kind of tells you these guys do wear down, and you don't want to see that for sure. And so it's all part of the big puzzle. The big puzzle is playing until the end of October, and the Rangers intend to do that. Bruce Bochy's done that 4 times in his career.
Yeah,
and 5 if you count the loss when he was the Padres manager.
Yeah,
but so he knows how to get there. Mike Maddox knows how to get there. That's not to say you're not going to get reinforcements. Josh Sborza is going to help.
Yeah,
John Gray potentially and Cody Bradford are going to help.
Yep.
All coming back, and who knows what they're going to do at the trade deadline. But bullpen management is very, very difficult. And then when you lose 2 key guys, even if it's just for 4 or 5 days, and now this Martin thing looks like it's going to be,
longer.
The minimum 15 at least, but it feels like it's going to be longer. Well, that makes it harder. I think right off the top, maybe it was Mista who talked about David Robertson. The Rangers had some conversations with him during the year. He's his own agent, and they never went anywhere. There's a sense within the organization that David Robertson is leaning toward retirement. And maybe he's just dying now that he's not playing. And he has convinced his family, hey, let's give it a shot here for 4 months and see how this goes. But still, let's say he signs. What is he going to sign for? How much money do the Rangers have to sign him?
Yeah, if they're still trying to stay under the
especially if there's
tax.
A bidding war now with the Phillies, with Jose Alvarado suspended and not available for the postseason. How is there suddenly a market? Is he in the driver's seat, Robertson, to get the most money? And then, if the guy wasn't committed fully at the start of the season, because he could have signed, there's no doubt that a team out there could have given him.
Absolutely.
He could have signed for whatever, he could have signed for a few million. He couldn't have signed for probably what he was seeking after last year. But late in spring training, David Robertson could have found a team pretty easily, I would suspect.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Yeah.
So why didn't he?
Yeah.
Is his heart in there? I loved watching the guy last year.
Yeah.
He gave it his all every outing.
Yeah.
He had fun doing it. Great season, 99 strikeouts as a reliever, which is pretty darn unheard of. And so anyway, I don't know that, he's such an easy answer. Just go out and sign him. I don't know that it's that easy.
Yeah. No, it's not at all. And by the way, Leon, thank you. So Garcia isn't even 29 yet. So that's good. He turns 29 next month. But yes, to your point, David Robertson is still going to want more money than probably the Rangers have to spend.
Yeah.
And he's also 40, right? We were just talking about the problems with these aging veterans in the bullpen. And so that one, I'm not sure that necessarily addresses the need, at least not specifically. And the Rangers do know they're going to have arms available to throw toward the bullpen. Probably the one that comes to mind soonest is Kumar Rocker. I don't think anybody wants to make his future a relief pitcher, but right now it's going to be very hard for him to break into this rotation. It's the number 1 rotation in baseball. So when he comes back, and if he's healthy and no one else gets hurt in the meantime, maybe you do let him try that. He's if in the bullpen you can be a 2-pitch guy.
Yeah.
And his 2 pitches are pretty dang good.
Yeah. That one's a tough call. I think that honestly the Rangers would rather try Teodo there than Rocker. Just they think the future's there. But then again, like you'd think, oh, just put Corbin in the bullpen. Well, Corbin doesn't really solve your problem.
Right.
Your problem is that you need somebody who throws hard and is going to go out there and miss bats and do those things late in games. Patrick Corbin's not a 8th inning guy if he becomes a reliever. I think he's a multi-inning guy. He's just, maybe he's Hobie Milner, that type of scenario. So I'm not sure. This is we talked about it a little bit yesterday. This is a pretty interesting dilemma that the Rangers are going to be faced with here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, won't be too long now, and it'll be lots of interest in that and lots of fodder for our show, which, of course, we always like. There's more coming up as we're going to walk down memory lane. There are just so many series memories and playoff memories between the Yankees and the Rangers, and we get to some of those next as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
But first, we're going to talk about...
Oh, actually, I got to talk
Are we going to do Mando first?
So
All
let
right.
me say this. Let me just say this. Don't forget the feet.
Ooh, the feet.
The feet. Because Mando, and look, I mean, Mando gave us an order, really, to talk about things that we're not supposed to talk about in mixed company. And
Like
the 14-year-old boy in all of us, just came out immediately and has been there for 2 weeks talking about the grundle and the package and all that. But the reality is, don't forget the feet. They say right on the package of the Mandos, the deodorant wipes, they say for your pits, your package, and your feet.
Ooh, feet.
And I got to be honest with you, I've forgotten the feet. So I'm now, and I got sweaty feet. I hate to tell you. So my feet will stink on you, but not anymore because I got Mando on them. You should try the Mando, and don't forget the feet. You get $5 off your starter pack with the code DLLS at Mando.
Well, Empire Today is going to give you $350 off your new floors, empiretoday.com/DLLS. Empire Today, they're an OG sponsor of DLLS, and we love them, not just for being our sponsor, but for the high-quality products they produce for you and your family in your homes. And they've been doing it for years. Everybody knows their jingle. And our floors here in the big lounge area are courtesy of Empire Today, so we thank them for that. But what you do, you get a free in-home estimate, get somebody out to your house. They help you pick out the colors and everything that goes with your cabinets or your furniture or your paint on the walls, whatever it is. They want to give you the home field advantage, and they can start the next day. So again, empiretoday.com/DLLS for $350 off new floors.
Yeah, and if you think about it, don't forget the feet could apply to the Empire Today ad too.
100%.
You put your feet into that nice new plush shag carpeting that you've decided to buy, and because you've got the Mando on there, you don't stink up the carpeting. So, I mean, look at that little double dip on the commercial read there. Okay, so Yankees memories. I mean, growing up as a fan of a team that was in the American League East, I saw those Yankees for so many years playing against the Tigers and so forth. And then my family moved out east for one summer, and we, because we were American League people, we went to Yankee games a lot. It was when the Yankee Stadium renovation took place, so the Yankees were playing at Shea in the early 70s or mid-70s, whatever it was. And anyway, so I've got this long history and love-hate with the Yankees because I did really. I mean, I was there in the era of Thurman Munson and Chris Chambliss and all those guys. I mean, these were great teams, and so Craig Nettles. I mean, and anyway, so but they're the team everybody wants to beat, right? And that certainly became true for the Rangers in the 90s. And in 96, the first year the Rangers made the playoffs, It was unbelievable. They went to New York to start that series, and they won game one.
Right.
They won game one of that series, and we were just beside ourselves. And then, Jeff, and you weren't there for it as I was able to be, but you've seen the story. Then they really had game two in the bag.
Right.
They should have won game two of that series, and the bullpen imploded with Mike Hennemans and Jeff Russells of the world.
Right.
And then they lost the rest of them. Yeah, I mean,
they lost the rest of the games in the series, and the next one, and the next
one after that. Three in a row to the Yankees. So that is where you build up this, truly, that's how you build a rivalry. The Yankees certainly wouldn't have said in the year 2000 that the Rangers are a rival. But I promise you the Rangers would have said the Yankees are.
Yeah, well, and then, go to 2010, and I kind of got some things screwed up yesterday. But 2010, game one, Rangers are up 5-1 and lose the game.
And lost the game. And I, with all the people that had been around for those 90s series, and that was at home. That was at Globe Life Park. And I was saying to all those people who had been around for those, here we go again. This is the 90s all over. The Rangers should have won that game. They lost it. They're dead. They're dead in this series. And clearly they were not. And you know who didn't believe that? The team.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the thing. I think in the late 90s, after what happened in 96, and again, those guys are our good friends, the Mark McLemores of the world and all those guys. But I think they got the Yankees in their head. I mean, I think their eyes got wide, and they kind of had the Yankees in their head. That group then with the Michael Young and the Ian Kinsler and the Josh Hamilton, Yankees weren't in their head. And I remember going into the clubhouse. I was doing a post-game show, so I didn't go in post-game of game one. But I went in prior to game two, and it was just like, no, we're fine. No, we're going to be good. No, we're fine. Like everybody, and it wasn't platitudes. It was confidence, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I must say, I even felt better, even though after game one, I thought, oh, yeah, they're going to sweep. This is done. Forget this,
Well, Colby Lewis.
he had something to say.
That was when he kind of emerged as the great postseason pitcher that he was. He won game two. And then, of course, the clincher. Now, what I screwed up yesterday, I had my games 3 and 4 backwards.
4 was the Cliff Lee game,
Game
right?
3 was Cliff Lee.
Oh, Cliff Lee was 3, okay.
Flat out dominated, was fantastic. Hamilton homered and doubled in that game. And then game 4 was the Derek Holland relief appearance.
Yep.
And the Benji Molina home run. And, of course, Hamilton was fantastic in that one, too. He was the series MVP. They basically started giving him the Barry Bonds treatment. They just were like, we're not going to pitch to pitch to this guy anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, Hamilton hit 2 home runs in that game. I had him hitting 2 home runs in game 3 when he only hit 1 game and doubled. But the point is, to take the 3-1 series lead, CJ didn't pitch very well again in game 5. But the Rangers still went home, had 2 chances to win at home, only needed the one chance.
Only one. And again, Colby Lewis.
Lewis, 8 innings.
8 innings.
We've had him on the weekly show. He's a good friend and has changed my life really with the introduction of the lunchbox, his favorite cocktail. It's delicious. Just take my word for it. But he talks about how the Rangers are cruising. He cruised through the 8th. He wanted the complete game. It was 6-1, and Wash went up to him and Colby's like, I got the 9th, and Wash's like, nope, Colby, we're gonna go with Neff. It's hilarious because Colby does a great impersonation of Wash.
Yeah.
And anyway, it worked out.
They all do. Yeah.
They really do. Colby, done enough. We're gonna go to Neff, and Feliz went in there and gets the statue hugging Benji Molina and all that stuff.
Yep.
Should have been Colby, Wash. But anyway, those are my 2 biggest memories were those 2 games. I mean, I've seen a bunch of games at Yankee Stadium. There's the one where the damn 3-hour rain delay where Beltre's kids and
Prince
Fielder's kids were out there, the only ones there left in the stadium, basically having a great time. And there's the tarp disaster. And anyway, but those 2 games in 2010 stand out for me.
Yeah, they were absolutely fantastic.
Well, and then I guess, '08, before the new stadium, was when Hamilton had
the home run derby.
the home run derby.
Yeah.
Hamilton's birthday is tomorrow. I think he turns 45 tomorrow.
Does he? Okay.
I think. So anyway,
Happy birthday, Josh.
yeah.
Come on the show.
Let's find him.
Yeah,
we got to find
I
him
know.
first.
He could do it. You could do it from the house, Josh. Just come on the show. I was not at that All-Star game. I wish I had been for the last one at Yankee Stadium. But Josh came home and they had there might have been Hall of Fame weekend. There was one of those luncheons which I emceed with Josh and his high school pitcher. I mean, his high school coach or whoever that guy was that pitched to him.
Right.
And that was significant, that he just found that groove where he could just toss it right where Josh liked to hit it, man.
Yeah, and they had, he'd thrown with them beyond high school. It was, but he just was lobbing them in there right into
Just
his hot
in his
zone.
wheelhouse.
Clay Counsel. I
There
knew
you
his
go.
first name was
Thank you.
Clay. I couldn't
Thank
remember
you.
the last name.
Yeah.
And of course, Hamilton didn't win the home run derby.
No, that was the weirdest
Justin
thing.
Morneau won it.
Yeah.
Hamilton wore himself out with the 28 homers in the first round, but the Rangers were cheering. Not the Rangers, but fans at Yankee Stadium were chanting his name.
Yeah, that was
fired up.
You can say he didn't win it, but he
won
nobody remembers who won it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, lots of memories with the Yankees. And how about some recent memories? Last year, Wyatt Langford hit a walk-off home run against the Yankees.
Yeah. Here, first rookie in Rangers history to do that. Hit a walk-off grand slam.
That's right.
And that was that was a pretty good Yankees team. Ended up going to the World Series. And so but this team is really good offensively. They're they brought the torpedo bat into the world,
into the lexicon.
But, that buzz has calmed down like I thought it would. Seems kind of like a fad. I know Jock Peterson's using one, but the Yankees hitters who were using them in that opening series when they just destroyed the Brewers. Jazz Chisholm's hurt, but before he got hurt, he's batting 160.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot about Anthony Volpe anymore.
No. Who was sort of pioneered for Volpe. Right?
Volpe so it's that thing's kind of gone by the wayside. I think Cal Raleigh with the Mariners is the one who's had the most success with it, but it's crazy. I get emails from all these bat websites because of my kid, and they're out there. There was a rush order put on them, but anywho.
Yeah, so Yankees offensively slash line of 261, 347, 475, and 822. And again, now in this day and age, a 261 team batting average, Jeff, is pretty good. I mean, it's good enough to be best in the American League, by the way.
Well, it helps when you have a 400 hitter,
right?
Who's leading the Triple Crown categories.
And I know you guys did that on the show yesterday, but we can't discount in any way all that guy is doing this year. I mean,
well, it is crazy. I think the position switch has helped.
Yeah,
not having to be in center field helps take care of his health and his body. And but I watched him last week when I saw him that Jock Peterson story when they showed his average.
Yeah,
he's a good hitter. He's not just a power guy. Aaron Judge is a good hitter.
Yeah,
he knows how to hit. Can hit in any count. Yeah, he's going to strike out a lot, but it's impressive to watch now. And we had talked about 400 with Brett and Gwynn. We talked about it again yesterday. Judge is at 401. Ted Williams in 41 hit 406. A long way to go for Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
But still, with guys who don't hit 300 anymore, even
to
be at 400, it's like wow.
Yeah,
even though it's only May 20th.
Yeah,
it's still pretty surprising to see.
Yeah, we're not even a third of the way through the season, but that's a lot longer than anybody's carried 400 in a decade or more. And nowadays, if you're carrying 300 a third of the way through the season, you're feeling pretty good. So, and in part, that's how good the pitchers have become with all their new tricks and the spin rates and all those kinds of things. So, this Yankees series is bound to be fun. Of course, what makes it more fun is as we look at it, it feels like the Rangers have a slight advantage. Again, I know the Yankees are great hitters, but the Rangers starting pitching lining up very well against this Yankees team. So
best test of the season for the rotation.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And we've got 2 of the 3 best going.
The Tigers are up there too. Let's not forget
that's
about
right.
that.
And they took 2 out of 3 there.
Yeah.
That's right. So in fact, I think the Tigers do have the second best offense, and I think there's only 3 American League teams in the top 10 in total offense right now. So anyway, we got more coming up as we bat cleanup. It's time to clean this thing up. We do it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And the sale is over, so why don't you forget about that and just become a diehard. That way you get a free T-shirt. Like, free is even better than 75% off, to be honest. And it's damn sure better than 30% off. It's free. So become a diehard today. Get all the stuff that is written behind the paywall. There's exclusive stuff there. I'm sure we did all kinds of stuff. Yesterday was a big day here at DLLS. As Jason Kidd and Nate Newton and Will McClay were all on the Mavs, obviously, and then the Cowboys show. So these off seasons, these other teams are trying to compete with us for all the different guests we got.
They really are. They're trying to
get in
on our act.
Yeah, they're trying to get in on that, and so we set a high bar, and they're reaching it. So very good for them. But in any event, become a diehard, and you get all the stuff, the behind-the-scenes stuff, and all the stuff we write at the website. You get that free T-shirt. You get 20% off all of the merchandise and all of the events that we have. There's so many reasons to spend your $79.99. It's not even $80. $79.99 and become a diehard.
And when you do, you get a free shirt like John's wearing. I have one underneath. I have the Mavs. Let me flash you guys here. See if you can get a piece of that.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. I do not recommend flashing, though.
No.
But anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com. It's where you can get all kinds of shirts. If you're a Stars fan, and why wouldn't you be here as they start the Western Conference Finals, get that Finnish Mafia shirt. It's one of the best sellers across our network, one of the best sellers, honestly, in All-City history. Those Finns can play them some hockey. So what wasn't it the 1980 team, U.S. hockey team, they had to beat Finland to win the gold medal. So
that's right.
Forget about the Russians. It was Finland that was the problem all along.
Yeah.
Anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com.
Yeah, my son-in-law is a huge Stars fan, as really everybody is this time of year when they're running like this. But he asked his wife, my daughter, can we get a Finnish flag to hang on the outside of the house? So I think I'm going to buy him one of those Finland Mafia shirts because they are fantastic, and the Stars are fantastic. What a fun run that they're on. They, though, are not a part of the cleanup segment. We start that actually with a guy who I get up this morning and I'm on Twitter, and one of my great follows, and if you like the NBA at all, you should follow him too. It's my good friend Antonio Daniels, and AD and I did Thunder live for years when
Missouri?
I was still at Bally. He actually went to Bowling Green, and then he was the either 2 or 3 overall pick of the then Vancouver Grizzlies.
Oh, okay.
And then he played a long time in the league and won a championship with the Spurs.
Okay.
And makes his home in San Antonio now. And anyway, great guy, Antonio, and he does. He's the color commentator on the New Orleans Pelicans broadcast each and every night, so you can watch him there on. I think they're still on FanDuel, but in any event, so I get up this morning and right at the top of my Twitter feed is Antonio going back and forth with this guy, and this guy's like, "I knew he's, you think he's so great, and da 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 da, and he's just a druggie, he's on PEDs and yada yada," and I'm like, "What are we talking about here?" Jose Alvarado is a kind of a good, I think he's like the 6th man for the Pelicans. And he's a good kid. He's he's a tough kid. He's from Brooklyn. He's the kind of kid you wouldn't expect to be a great NBA player. And he really comes off the bench for them and gives them a lot. And finally, AD very calmly says, it's Jose Alvarado of the Phillies, not Jose Alvarado of the Pelicans. So, but yeah, Jose Alvarado of the Phillies, lo and behold, has tested positive for testosterone, Jeff, and he's out for 80, right? But includes the postseason.
Right. That's the kicker now with these suspensions is it'll cost you and your team the postseason. The Phillies, of course, have postseason aspirations. And
World Series
aspirations.
Yeah.
So that's why they're reportedly talking to David Robertson. So what? It happens. It happened to our friend Jerks and Profar, I still don't understand why guys would even mess with this stuff. They know what's coming. I guess financial incentive is why they do it. Profar signed the biggest contract of his career, and I don't know, what excuses he's has, whether it's something to do with a health issue that's been unreported, or testosterone. In Alvarado's case, he was thinking about fertility, or are they trying to have is he trying to get his lady friend wife pregnant? But they have waivers for those.
Yes,
you can get
that's
waivers
right.
for those.
Yeah.
So it's like, take the extra step. Make sure your agent knows what you're doing. And Scott Boras is Profar's agent, so I'm assuming that he would have known. I just don't see outside of the money thing. And if that's what it is, okay, that's what it is. But still,
yeah, there's plenty of money to be made, really, even without all of that. And it's confounding, and I'm sure it's frustrating. Those Philly fans, any Cowboys fan. I mean, we don't do much with the Philadelphia Phillies, but everybody here knows what that fan base is like, based on the Eagles, and they're just as rabid for the Phillies as they are for the Eagles. And I promise you, like, sports talk radio in Philly is just a buzz with Jose Alvarado talk, and they're not happy up there about that, and I don't blame them. A much happier story, though, and both the Prophet and I were actually in Chicago as part of vacation, and that town is still buzzing about Pope Leo. So, and I've got a good friend who's he's actually a Catholic bishop, and he's in the part of the Chicago land is in his diocese. He's in Gary, Indiana, and there's a restaurant down there in the southern part of Chicago, a pizza restaurant called Aurelio's.
Okay.
And so within the last year, they called him Father Bob then. Father Bob, who was the priest, and his two brothers who still live in Chicago went into Aurelio's and had pizza. And they posted a picture on social media. And so now Aurelio's Pizza has a thing called their main pizza is called Poperoni, not pepperoni. So I drove by Aurelio's and I wanted to stop in there and to at least take a picture of it, or maybe try their Poperoni pizza. But anyway, everybody in Chicago, of course, is grabbing on to a little bit of the Pope, and I don't blame them. And we talked last week on the show about how the Cubs were trying to claim him, and the White Sox definitively said no, he's a White Sox fan. So this weekend, Sunday, they had a big celebration for Pope Leo at the what are they, rate field now, whatever,
guaranteed
rate field, and look at this. This is section 140 of the stadium there. They put the mural on the wall, and that is because the Pope, then Father Bob, sat in section 140 for Game 1 of the 2005 World Series between the White Sox and the Astros. And, of course, it was a series that the White Sox swept from the Astros. And anyway, there's video, and you can go find it. We can't show it to you because of the MLB restrictions, but there's Pope Leo and family friends of his who are right there, and it was their season tickets whose seats they were in. But anyway, and Father Bob just looks like a super nervous White Sox fan, you know. I mean, like he's just a fan. He wasn't wearing anything clerical or nothing that denoted that he was a priest at the time. He's just wearing White Sox gear, and like every other fan in the shot, he was extremely nervous in the late stages of a game that obviously the White Sox won because they swept. So anyway, pretty cool tribute, and that whole family whose seats they are, it was invited to the game at guaranteed rate the other day. And then Pope Leo has a standing invitation, Jeff, to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of it. Not sure how many vacations the Pope gets.
Me neither. But if he, when he comes to America, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
To see the Pope throwing out. And you don't ever see the Pope not dressed up in quite an outfit, like Father Bob was just in regular civilian clothes, but not sure I've ever seen a Pope dressed like that. So it'd be fun to watch him go out there and
replace a little white hat with a White Sox hat. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Put socks across there. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I was in. I think this is 2010. Speaking of 2010, going back earlier.
Yeah,
I believe I was in New York for a series. And it was Memorial Day.
Okay.
And Derek Holland went on the injured list that day. It was an off day, though. But President Obama was traveling either to or from Chicago. And I was staying at the airport. And my room at the beautiful airport Marriott looked right out over the interstate there. And I looked out, and I was like, "Oh, damn! There must be a wreck. The road's closed. There are all these emergency vehicles on the overpasses. It was the presidential motorcade.
Yeah,
I mean, they shut that thing down.
Yeah.
So when the
Pope, in Chicago,
it was a holiday Monday, so at least that lessened it. But when the Pope comes, that's the kind of treatment he's going to get.
No doubt.
But the motorcade was crazy. It was like all these. It was. That scene at the end of Airplane when the plane's getting ready to land and it's all these emergency vehicles and like a Budweiser truck and a garbage truck. I'm serious. There was all kinds of things in this motorcade. It was hysterical.
To make sure that President Obama was safe getting to Chicago. That's fantastic. So I wanted to mention, not because, obviously every team goes through little losing streaks, but the Dodgers losing streak, just because, again, I'm famously predicted they wouldn't make the World Series. Wouldn't win. I didn't say wouldn't make. I just said they wouldn't win the World Series. And good. My prediction's coming through. They lost. Not only have they lost 4 in a row, Jeff, but 3 of those were to the Angels.
The mighty Angels. Wash.
Yeah.
I'd seen at the beginning of the week that, a tweet from one of the Angels fan sites, potential replacements for Ron Washington, like, oh gosh, they're going to fire him mid-season. And I don't know if that would happen, but glad the boys are responding a little bit here.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of our friend, and I don't care calling him a friend. Ron Washington's my friend.
Yeah.
And I hope that he is able to at least finish the year. He's got an option year for next season. They're better. They're a better team.
They are. They're way better than they were last year.
They still have the same pitfalls that young teams deal with, but they're a better team right now than they were last year.
Finally, and I don't know if you've seen anything on this, Jeff, but I only put it in the show because it came from Rosenthal, came from Ken Rosenthal, and we see lots of reports out there, and a lot of them we don't believe, and they don't wind up being true. But Rosenthal is behind one that suggests that Bryce Harper to the Pirates is a possibility. I mean, there's no way that can be true, can there? I mean, he's just doubled down with the Phillies.
The only way would be the only possible way that would happen would be Paul Skeens,
right?
And I don't know.
And can you imagine how pissed Bryce Harper would be? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I would imagine that he has some no trade protection in there.
Sure seemed like it. Yeah.
So I don't know.
No,
that's a crazy one.
That one seems like a far-fetched one, and we'll have to do a little more digging on that. But again, the source is fairly credible in this case. I mean, Ken Rosenthal, but again, they all kind of have to, I don't know, get clicks too.
Yeah.
Right.
Boo is in the chat. Boo, it's good to see you. Howdy to you. Leon's always there. Blake has become a regular. Mista's a regular. So thank all of you guys for being in here and watching. Scoop's pretty much a regular.
Yep.
Rarities, maybe he's listening. BC, I didn't see him flex when we talked about the Dodgers, so maybe he's feeling the pain of this losing streak a little bit. But anyway, we always enjoy it when you guys stop by and comment.
Yep.
We love the comments.
Glad to have you. We appreciate you each and every day, and of course, we'll be here normal time tomorrow. But what time are we scheduled for? Is it 3:00 on? Or is it 2:30?
It's down for 2:30, so it'll probably be between 2:30 and 3 when we start.
Yeah, because we got the early start time on
game.
Getaway Day in New York.
Yeah. So that'll be good. We don't have to wait for RSN to end. I can hop right on, and we can just get going. 10 minutes after that ball game.
We'll start soon after the game ends. On all the road games and home games, we'll wait just a little bit longer. So we appreciate your patience there too. But so we're here until this series ends with the New York Yankees. Hopefully with at least a series win. Hell, maybe even a sweep. Why not? Let's go big. All right. We'll see you again tomorrow, 1:00 on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.